स्वामिन्नमस्ते नतलोकबन्धो कारुण्यसिन्धो पतितं भवाब्धौ मामुद्धरात्मीयकटाक्षदृष्ट्या ऋज्व्यातिकारुण्य सुधाभिवृष्ट्या स्वामिन्नमस्ते 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 सच्चिदानन्दरूपाय व्यापिने परमात्मने नमः श्रीगुरुनाथाय प्रकाशानन्दमूर्तये सत्यानन्दस्वरूपाय बोधैकसुखकारिणे नमो वेदान्तवेद्याय गुरवे बुद्धिसाक्षिणे ज्ञानस्वरूपं निजभावयुक्तम् आनन्दमानन्दकरं प्रसन्नं योगीन्द्रमीड्यं भवरोगवैद्यं श्रीमद्गुरुं नित्यमहं नमामि श्रीमद्गुरुं नित्यमहं नमामि नित्याय सत्याय चिदात्मकाय नव्याय भव्याय परात्पराय शुद्धाय बुद्धाय निरञ्जनाय नमोऽस्तु नित्यं गुरुशेखराय नमोऽस्तु नित्यं गुरुशेखराय नमोऽस्तु नित्यं गुरुशेखराय। जय गुरु जय गुरु जय गुरु। In these sessions, I am reading from this book, Prabhatarashmi, Volume 1. Now, what is Prabhatarashmi? Every day here, we have a small function which is named as Pushpa Samarpanam. We have it in the morning, and all of us, we assemble in our hall and we place Swamiji's seat, collect flowers from the garden, clean the flowers very devotionally, and amidst chanting of Guru Stotras, one by one, we offer flowers at Pujya Swamiji's holy feet, our Gurudev, and offer our pranams. After that, earlier days, even now sometimes he does, for many years, he has been talking after this Pushpa Samarpanam. And he will talk for about 10 minutes or 15 minutes, closing his eyes, and that would be the message for the day. Mostly, it would be some message for seekers to grow in spirituality, grow in good spiritual qualities, and learn to understand how to introspect, see one's own mind, why the mind is so restless, why the mind is so fearful, why the mind is always wanting something or other and is not fulfilled and contented. He tells us how the mind can be fulfilled so that there will not be any want of any kind, but one will be floating in a sea or ocean of Ananda. So these Prabhata Rashmis, I always feel that they are very much directed to seekers who want to make their life beautiful with spiritual knowledge. And that can be had only in the association of a saint, a realized master. We can read the Shastras, we can worship, we can go to temples, but nothing is like coming in the association of a realized soul, a Mahatma, a Mahapurusha, a Sadguru, where you can sit at his feet and listen to him. And if you have doubts, you can ask him later. He will solve all the turmoil of the mind, all the restlessness of the mind, all the afflictions of the mind will be set at rest. So these Prabhatashmis are very, very useful for any seeker. And I find that these being very small, one can read through. Say take one, it may take 1 or 2 days to read. And I always say that reading should not be just a reading. One must read and understand, try to understand each and every word what the Guru has spoken. So I have been taking these series of lectures. There has been for years, I think we started the Prabhat Rashmi in 1995, and maybe just 2 years or so that Swamiji is not regularly speaking Prabhat Rashmi because of his ill health. So, but sometimes he speaks also. So you can understand how many years of Prabhat Rashmi have been collected, transcribed, and each month in our monthly journal, the English journal, Malayalam and the Hindi, we publish one of the Vichar Setus. Many are still not published. Out of the published ones, we have been able to bring out 3 volumes of Prabhat Rashmi. I am taking the first volume. I think I have taken, from the time I started this Prabhat Rashmi reading, I think I have taken about 4 or 5 chapters, and now I am in a chapter which says, detachment, the only way to live well. I myself feel very happy reading this Prabhat Rashmi books. I've read so many times, and every time I read, I find that there is an inner meaning of each line. And I feel amazed at the clarity of expression and how it touches the mind and heart if we really want to know what has been spoken. In this chapter, which I started, I think I've done already 2 sessions, but I'll just give a summary. This was during, this Prabhat Rashmi was spoken on 25th July 1997. How many years back? So many years back. And it was during the Guru Purnima in retreat. So one devotee asked Swamiji that, Swamiji, always you have been inspiring us by your talk to live the life in a better manner, whether it is in the family or in the professional field. But now we feel that you are mostly talking about Vairagya and leaving the worldly life. So this looks a little alien to us, the householders. Please explain to us why and what you are really meaning. So we would like to hear from you the truth about what you are talking and the emphasis that you are giving on Vairagya. So Swamiji said that Vairagya doesn't mean that you have to leave. Vairagya is not having attachment, not having possessiveness, not having clinging to the worldly objects. Do all your work very well, perfectly, with all your mind, heart and soul. As Krishna had told Arjuna, Mukta Sangha Samachara. Mukta Sangha Samachara. Be free of attachment and then work. Sama Achara. That is, do your work very well, perfectly well, excellently well. It's not that when we become free of attachment, we become lazy. Oh, why should we work anymore? It's not that. Do your work. Whatever comes your way, whether you like it or dislike it, you must do it well. But don't have a clinging. Cling to what? Whatever you are doing. Don't have a clinging to this fact that whatever I am doing, I should be recognized, I should be praised. At least somebody should acknowledge that I was doing work, or that I am doing something important, or feeling that always I have to do so much of work, but nobody understands that. All those feelings are unnecessary. Work has come, work has to be done. And especially for householders, there is so much of responsibility, duties, so many things to be done for the family, for the children, for parents, and to keep everybody in a comfortable manner in the family. One has to work hard. So, even in the family, for the householders, one must feel that if we get attached, we have suffering. Attached to what? The family, whatever I like, the plans that I have made for the family, it will work. Sometimes it doesn't work. So attachment to the plans, attachment to the ideas, attachments to what you want, attachment to what you do not want. So this clinging to your own ideas, that one should be free of. Free of attachment to one's own expectations. That is what is Vairagya. No possessiveness, no desires, no ego. So this is what Swamiji has been talking. So he says that in spirituality the message is not to escape or run away from any situation. We don't like situations. We don't like some people. We try to avoid them. We try to avoid such situations. But look at Krishna and Arjuna. Arjuna was in a situation which, even though he had prepared for it, when he faced the war and the battle, he simply crumbled and he wanted to run away. And the whole Bhagavad Gita is to give strength in the mind of Arjuna and tell him that you are not to run away. This is the work that has come upon you. This is a dharma yuddha. You have to fight. So this is what, in our lives, situations will come. Anything, what we expect, but what we do not expect, we should be prepared to face it with full acceptance, full reliance, and also do well in taking up the work and facing the situation. You know, today I read one letter which Swamiji has written to a girl. A small girl, not very small, maybe 35, 36 years old. She has just delivered a baby 1 month old. She's an engineer by herself, and we have known her from childhood. She got married. She was working also for some time. Then she got married to an army officer. And because the husband got a promotion, the higher officials, they can't stay near to the border in some family accommodations. So they were posted in Jammu. So even before this, whatever is going on now, when she came after marriage also, since they were in Jammu and Kashmir, always we used to feel that it's a very, very uncertain place. So now the other day, even before the whole of India came to know, 3 o'clock at night, we got a phone call from her. Crying and crying and crying, saying that the army has started going towards the border. That's the first time we came to know. The whole of India was expecting something, and from her phone call that day, 3 o'clock at night, we came to know that already army is proceeded and proceeding towards the border. And she was crying and crying. Saying that I have got a one-month-old child, I'm not getting any news of my husband, etc. You can understand. So Swamiji was telling her that you should be confident. I can understand your pain, but for the sake of the whole nation, your husband has gone to the border. So you should rise up. You must gather courage. And today he has written a letter to this girl. Why he has written a letter? Within 2 days, when the missiles were striking, she wrote few small WhatsApp messages to us, saying that some officer came and asked them to vacate their flats. And she has written, with my small daughter in my lap, I had to run. So much of such huge sound of the missiles, I had to run without cover to some nearby bunker or somewhere. And she was definitely very, very frightened. So Swamiji today has written a letter. I was asked to look into it so that we can immediately send her an email. Swamiji has written that at this point, it's true that you are a wife, you are a mother with a small baby in your lap. You must rise to become a citizen of India. Our borders are in danger, and those who are supposed to protect the borders, they have gone there. So you should be giving confidence and strength to your husband. Otherwise, how will he do his work? And many other things. Such beautiful letter. I was having tears in my eyes reading the letter. It comes from a Mahapurusha. What is he saying? Telling this young girl, young wife, young mother to face the situation. Face the situation. Nobody wants to face this kind of a situation. When the husband has gone for war, no news. And what will happen, nobody knows also. But one has to face. Similarly, not in the war. We have to face so many situations which we do not want to face. So, through these messages, which are the messages of our Shastras, our sacred texts, always what our Shastras are telling us, that remain unaffected, learn to remain unaffected. And unaffectedness is liberation. Liberation from what? Liberation from the shackles of the mind and intelligence. What are the shackles of the mind and intelligence? Disturbance, agitation, restlessness, fear, anxiety, and constantly thinking of the future, constantly thinking about what we have not got. All these bind us, and so much of cluttering is there in the mind. The mind is not restful. So, to become contented, this is what our scriptures are saying. So Swamiji tells in this particular talk that you are not to escape, but you must face situation and you should not get attached to anything. What is that? We become attached to thinking that the life should be all right around us. We become attached to that wish in our mind, or desire in the mind, and everything should be all right around me. Attachment to that. When something becomes otherwise, it can become loss of wealth, it can become children not studying, it can become some disease, which we do not want to have, we do not want to face. We become absolutely afflicted. So again and again he is saying, do not become attached. What is meant by attachment? It is self-quoted bondage. That is, we constantly, we do not introspect and make ourselves free. When the mind is under turmoil and agitation, we are not finding out the cause, why it is so. So it is self-quoted bondage. So I had done a few pages, and now I will start this portion. I have told you more or less in short what Swamiji had told. He told also this is very important. Whenever your composure is assailed, understand that you are attached to something. When we are not attached, when we do not cling to our ideas or our expectations, we are peaceful. Whenever we expect that I want this only, then only I'll be happy, that kind of an attachment, then we are not peaceful, we are not contented. We become afflicted. So, whenever your composure is assailed, understand that you are attached. You may work in an office or factory, but you are not supposed to get attached to it. This is what he says. Similarly, if you are in a household, you do household work, but do not get attached to anything in the sense that I want everything in a particular manner. That particular desire, the particular way of living, whether it is family, whether it is children, whether it is promotion, whether it is name, fame, for everything, do not have any preference. Let anything come, be happy, face it and do your work. So, he has given an example about the nature. Does nature do like this? He says that, look at nature. The air is going into our nostrils when we breathe. Suppose the air says that, I will not go ahead, I will stick there. Then what will happen? Look at the whole nature. It is going in a rhythm. Similarly, we must have a rhythm in our life. Understand that we are also a product of that same creation. And as the nature, the trees, the flowers, the fruits, they just go one by one according to the season. And they don't have expectations, but they follow what is their duty. The tree will grow, then birds will come, flower will be there, then fruit will be there. One by one they do their duties. No expectation. There will be many mangoes in a tree. I don't think the mango trees have any expectation that all mangoes will be eaten by somebody. Or after eating, people will come and praise the mango tree. Oh, your mangoes are very good. But we feel like this. When we do some work, we feel that somebody must acknowledge us. Somebody must tell us that, oh, you did very well. This is the difference. But just imagine the difference between other creatures or other living beings and human beings is that God has given us mind and intelligence to understand, introspect, where we are bound, where we are fooling ourselves, but we do not introspect and think. We just get caught by our desires, we get caught by our possessiveness. So, Swamiji says actually, if we do not, he says, if you don't understand all this, you are a fool, ignorant, and you are deluded. So in this Prabhat Rashmis, actually Swamiji speaks in a very, very open manner, because he speaks to the seekers who have come to learn at his feet, who want to transform themselves, grow in their mind and intelligence, grow into a beautiful human beings. We all are in reality beautiful, because our Swarupa, our real identity is the soul, the self, which has all good characteristics. We are ever free, we are ever pure, we are ever sublime, we are fearless, we are having no affectedness. These are the characteristics of the soul. The soul is birthless, deathless, eternal, imperishable, ever free, all-pervading, without any taint, without any decay, without fear, without affectation. This is our real identity. But we don't look into ourselves to find that out. We are that, but we feel we are weak and we feel insufficient. We feel lack in everything. That is why from the outer world we try to get our happiness, our fulfillment. But the fulfillment lies only inside, in our own self, within ourselves. So Swamiji says that if you don't understand this, actually we keep on hearing, and it becomes a knowledge in us. But very few try to experience it, become that, transform and mold their life according to that. That is why we remain unfulfilled. And that is why Swamiji is saying that you are a fool, you are ignorant, and you are deluded. He says that, Swamiji is now continuing. See how Sri Krishna, after having given the message of spiritual wisdom based on the concept of the unborn and undying soul, finally concludes, Mat karmakrit, mat paramo, mat bhaktas sangha varjitah. Nirvairas sarvabhuteshu yassa mameti pandava. This is the 55th shloka of Bhagavad Gita, chapter 11, in the Vishwarupa Darshana, last shloka. So he's saying that one who works for me alone and considers me to be the supreme, becomes my devotee, does not have any possessiveness. Also, for any creature, it does not have any animosity. So these are all qualities. Do work for my sake. What is doing work for my sake? God's sake. We'll have to understand. Then consider me to be supreme. What does it mean? Me or God to be the supreme. Become my devotee. That also we have to understand. We feel that we are devotees, but does God think that we are devotees? What are the conditions or what are the qualities a devotee should have? We must know. Then, do not have any clinging to anything, attachment to anything. Also, do not have any kind of animosity for any creature in this world. Such a person will attain me, the God. That is, he will experience God in you. You will always feel divine, always, wherever you look. Now we feel divine maybe during our spiritual routines or the devotional routines. Rest of the time we feel worldly. And yassa mameti Pandava. What is this mameti? When you attain the Supreme, attain the Self, attain God, at that time you become so. You become divinity. Everything will become divine. The whole day will become divine. Every movement will become divine. You will feel it. You will experience it. And that is why everything you will look, wherever you look, you will feel it is God and God alone. You will have no animosity for anybody. You will love everybody. Try to help everybody. The good qualities will rush into you. Actually, they are there. We just don't allow it to flower forth. All the qualities are there because one's real identity is the soul. I'm not the body, I'm the soul, the self, God. So the qualities are there. Why is it that we do not experience? Say, for example, a mirror. When a mirror is very well polished, when the mirror is very well dusted, very nicely cleaned, then if we look into the mirror, what will happen? We'll see our face very well. Suppose the polish from behind has gone bad, or suppose there is a lot of dust on the surface of the mirror. When we try to look into it, we will not see our face clearly. Similarly, in a vessel with clean water, if you look, you will feel, you will be able to see your face. If you put a pebble, you will be able to see the pebble very clearly. But suppose you add some mud into the water will become muddy. If you try to look, you will not see your face properly. If you try to see the pebble also will not be seen. Also, if you give some ripples in the water, then also your face will be zigzag. The pebble will be zigzag. It will not give you the true picture. Why it is happening? Because you are giving some impurity or some oscillations or some vibrations. Like in the mirror, if dust is there, that is an impurity. In the water, you are giving mud, that is an impurity. Or some vibrations you have given. So in the mind, when the mind is impure, when the mind has impure traits, that is not good traits. And if the mind is agitated or disturbed, the real self which one is does not reveal itself. It is there, but we are not able to understand it. So what is to be done? We must clear away the mind, make the mind calm and restful. How will the mind become restful? When the mind will be pure. What brings about impurity in the mind? All this: attachment, desires, and ego. So in this sloka, Krishna is telling, Mat karma krit. I told you the sloka, I'll tell it again. Mat karma krit, mat paramo, mat bhaktaha, sanga varjitaha, nirvairas sarva bhuteshu, yas samameti Pandava. So now, it is just not reading the sloka. We must try to understand what it conveys. Can I apply it to myself? If I cannot, why am I reading it? If I read it, I must understand it in such a manner that I can apply it to myself. So, mat karma krit. Do everything for my sake. Now, what is that? By oneself, one may not be able to understand. It was just the meaning of the sentence or the translation of the words. A Mahatma is explaining it. What does it mean to do work for my sake? So what is he saying? Swamiji is explaining it like this. You are born in this world. In whose world? Is the world yours? This world is not Not in your, you are born in this world. In whose world? Not in your world or your father's or grandfather's world. Is it not true? Whose is this world? We are in this world. But is it my father's? It is my grandfather's, or is it mine? Whose is that? Who has created? You can call it to be creator, can call him to be God, or you can think that there is a supreme power which creates the whole universe. So it is his. And you are born in this world with a body which is not shaped by you. And in this world, I am moving around with a body. I have a body, I have got limbs, hands, feet, and I've got the 5 organs, sense organs. I can see, I can hear, I can smell, I can taste, I can touch, everything I can do. These sense organs, the 4 limbs, and inside my buddhi, my mind and buddhi, I have not made. If I want, I cannot make another one. Who has made? Will feel that, oh, I came delivered by my mother. As a fetus, the child grows in the mother's womb. Okay. But does the mother create it? The mother may be having in the womb, the fetus. She may be looked after well, given good food, and looked after in the stage of expecting a baby. But does the mother know, or anybody else, the parents of the girl, husband of the girl, anybody, do they know whether the child who will be born will be fair or dark, will be strong or weak, will have good intelligence or no intelligence, will be tall or short? Is there any control over this? Can we create it? We have no hand in that. My dear children, I always feel that this is one small example. It is such a truth just to take away all the ego from us. We feel we have done. Who has done? Suppose I want to cut a fruit. I have taken an apple. I have taken an apple in my hand. Have I created the hand? I say my hand. But who has created this hand? I take the apple. Have I created the apple? I take a knife. I may say that, oh, I bought the knife from the shop. But if you go to the root, you will find the knife, the sharp edge, or if you have the handle with a wood, it is all from the elements of the earth, which is not ours, not made by us. So everything that we have, we feel it is my creation. It is my child. All belong to me. Everything that we think that belongs to me actually is created by somebody else who has created me also. To think this, to keep to this knowledge, to remain attached to this knowledge while doing other work. When we do work, if we remember this fact, that I am able to do all the work because He has given me consciousness, makes my body living, and is making me work with my hands. That is why I am moving, talking, eating, sitting, walking, everything I am able to do, thinking, deciding, doubting, everything I am able to do because that consciousness is there which has made me conscious. Then, if while working, at least for some time, 1 second, 2 seconds, we get connected to this knowledge, then what is happening actually? We understand that I am His, the supreme power's creation. I am God's, if you want to call Him God. I am God's and God is mine. Nothing belongs to me and nothing I can control. That is the way, if we think like this and work, that work becomes an offering to God. Because we understand, experience, feel that He has given, and that is why we are working. That is an offering. Offering is not that when we go and give puja, we take lot of flowers, lot of fruits, lot of sweets, big garlands, and light so many lamps. That is not offering. Offering is this jnana, the wisdom, that I am yours, created by you. I am your part. To be thinking that, remembering that, you work. Remember that, and you work. So, he says that, Swamiji is telling, you are born in this world, in whose world? Not in your world or your fathers or grandfathers. You are born in this world with a body which is not shaped by you. Is there anything then which you have to shape? Living in the world created by God, moving with a body created by God, all that you do should be for the sake of God, the supreme power. This is the message of spirituality. I know many of you know this sloka, which we chant every day in our prayers. Lokesha Chaitanyamaya Adideva Shrikanta Vishnu Bhavadajyaiva Pratas Samuthaya Tava Priyartham Samsara Yatram Anuvartaishye. What is that? The devotee, it is a prayer by a devotee. You know, there are so many prayers by devotees in our sacred texts and many other prakaranas. You will find devotees have sung and they have offered their feelings to the Lord, the Supreme Power. So in this one, this devotee is calling to God very, very dearly, affectionately, lovingly. He is calling God by a lot of names. The first thing he is saying, Hey Lokesha. What is Lokesha? Loka Isha. That is God of all the world. Of the whole world. You are the Lord. Chaitanyamaya. You are the consciousness. Adideva. You are the God from the beginning, primordial being. From Him has come everything. Shrikanta. You are the consort of Lord Vishnu. And, no sorry, you are Shrikanta, that is, you are Vishnu, yes, consort of Lord Vishnu. And then he says at the end, Hey, O Lord Vishnu, calls him. Lokesha Chaitanyamaya Adideva Shrikanta Vishnu, he has called. And when do we call God lovingly with many names? Because when we love Him. See, when we have children, babies, we'll call them by a lot of names. Father will call by some name, mother will give some name, grandmother will call by some name. Everybody is calling with a name because of love, which emerges from love. So the devotees, they have love for God. When I'm saying this, my dear children, these devotees, I'm saying, they have love for God. We must feel, what is this love for God? Why it is being said? I also have love for God. Well, we have to see what kind of love God says is love for God. What we think, I think I'm a devotee. I think I have love for God. But what is written in our Shastras about it? Do I fulfill them? Am I really a devotee? Is anything written about What are the qualities I must have to become a devotee? What are the qualities I must have to become a lover of God? So, in this devotee has sung so many names, and then he says, Bhavad Ajñayaiva Pratas Samuthaya. O Lord, with your wish or your propulsion, your inspiration alone, I get up in the morning. What a truth! Just imagine, now also it is night, after some time we will all go to bed. When we go to bed, what do? We put our head on the pillow and lie down. But when will our eyes close? Do we have any control of that? We do not. When the eyes have closed, we don't know. Sometimes, as soon as we lie down, our eyes will close and we'll fall asleep. Sometimes we'll be remaining awake and thinking many things. Then, after some time, when it has closed, we don't know. Similarly, in the morning, when we get up, we do not have any control over at what time our eyes will open. This is true for everybody. We do not have any control. Yes, we can put up an alarm. That is not the case. As such, naturally, it depends on that supreme power to make you awake. Whether he will make you awake at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, he only knows about it. And sometimes he does not make anybody get up also. People die in sleep. So, he says, Bhavad Ajñayaiva Pratas Samuthaya. Because you are wanting it. You have given me a new life, new day. You have made me get up into a new day. Bhavadajñaiva pratas samuthaya tava priyartham. So, with this knowledge that without your wish, I could not have got up in the morning, without your making me conscious, I could not have got up in this morning. It is you who is actually driving me in my life. With this knowledge, I understand that I am yours. You are driving me. So, the day that you have given, all the work that comes before me in this day, I will do it thinking that you have given me this life and given me the work. I will do the work, tava priyartham, to make you pleased. I will do the work very well, whether I like it or not like it. I will feel that you have given me, you have made me conscious and given me another day in the life and given me all the situations which I have to face today. But you are behind me who is driving me. So I'll do everything to please you and you alone. It's a beautiful verse. One verse is necessary. One verse is necessary to be happy and divine. To remember, what do we do in the morning? We get up in the morning. The first thing we do is we make our bed, fold the sheets, keep them properly. Even when we are doing that, our mind goes here, there. Instead of that, can we not think, oh God, you wanted, that is why I have got up. Once we think like that, we are actually connected to that Supreme. Supreme means what? The knowledge that I am nothing. I am nothing. I am able to do any activity because of that consciousness, which is in the form of Atma in me, which is my real identity. So, Swamiji says that living in the world created by God, moving with a body created by God, all that you do should be for the sake of God, the supreme power. My dear children, we can do this. We just don't do it. We have to make a habit of it. All these years we have not made a habit. Now we can make a habit. We are human beings, so we will not remember it. I am very sure nobody will remember. And the whole day will pass and you will feel, oh, one shloka Ma told. Very beautiful shloka. I thought I will remember it while doing my work, but I have forgotten. Throughout the day I did not remember it. Okay, at least at that time you remembered. You need not remember the words. You need not remember the tune in which I sang. Nothing. Just remember that it is because of His will, because of His design about this universe. As He has designed the nature, He has designed our lives also. And because of that, He's driving us, He's making us work, and we should be grateful to Him. When we become grateful, we want to please Him with all that He has given us and try to do our work, remembering Him and doing it very well. This is what we should do. Now, as I was telling you, if you try to make a habit, you will find that first few days you may remember it just once. After some time, you may remember it. You will find that you are remembering it at least twice in a day. After that, you will find many times you are remembering it. And you are not only remembering, you are able to do your work with that knowledge, feeling the divinity around you, feeling that He is around you and making you do your work. There is a very beautiful song in Bengali, Shama Sangit, which says, Shokoli tomar ichha, ichha moi tara tumi. তোমার কর্ম তুমি করো মা লোকে বলে করি আমি. The devotee is telling God, he's actually calling the goddess Tara, Durga, Shakti, and saying, Shokoli tomar ichha, everything is your wish. Ichha moi tara tumi. You are the ichha mai. You are the one who with your wish, you are making everything in this universe run. Tomar karmo tumi karo ma. That you are making this universe run. The sun rises, the sun sets. Then when the sun sets, by that time the moon has risen, moon will also set. The seasons come, one after another. Summer comes, rainy season comes. After that, autumn comes. After that, winter comes. Again, summer comes. It never happens. It never happens that it will come in a different order. The seasonal flowers come, the seasonal fruit come, and they come just in a rhythm. Similarly, our life is also in a rhythm. We should understand it, that knowledge we should slowly ingrain into ourselves, imbibe, so that when something goes wrong, we will understand that it is because it has to be like this. But we will not get depressed. Just like, suppose a fruit tree is cut, one branch we have cut, you will find still the other branches give us fruit the next season, because that is their duty. We should also, as human beings, should not crumble when we face situations which we do not want to face. We should do our duties very well and know how to remain afloat in this world. No fear at all, no fear. No affectedness at all. Then, in this song, he says, সকলেই তোমার ইচ্ছা, ইচ্ছাময়ী তারা তুমি, তোমার কর্ম তুমি করো মা, লোকে বলে করি আমি. Says that you are ichchamayi, with your wish only everything happens. You are running this whole show, but everybody feels that he or she is doing. That is why we say I have done. I am intelligent. I am so good. I can do this or I cannot do this. This I-ness comes. Then in one of the paras he says, Ami jantro tumi jantri, Ami ghor tumi ghoroni, Ami roth tumi rothi, Jemon chalao temni choli. Ami jantro, I am the machine, tumi jantri, you are the one who runs the machine. Ami ghor, I am the house, tumi ghoroni, you are the owner. The owner of the house only decides how the family will run. Ami roth, tumi rothi, I am the chariot and you are the charioteer. Jamon chalao temni choli. As you drive me, so I get driven. Without any ego. The attachment, I said, attachments are possessiveness, desires, ego. We have attachment to these. We are not able to leave these. How much we remain bound by this. So how to get habituated, how to drop them. We have to introspect. Those who are seekers, those who want to grow well, and make the mind beautiful and free. One thing that we have to do is think and introspect. Think and introspect. Feel free in the mind, peace in the mind. See where these are getting disturbed, hindered, and leave them. Leave all the undesirable qualities. Actually, it may not be done just in a day. It may take time. But this should be our aim. So Swamiji says this is the message of spirituality. Where is the impracticality here? Can a servant appointed by the master or an employee appointed by a company do whatever he likes? Can a government officer do whatever he likes? As a servant, as an officer, as a minister, one has to work for the master, for the company, for the people. So, in this world created by God, you should work only for the sake of God. That is, whatever we do, right from morning, whatever we do, we are doing the household work, our personal work, our work in the office, our work, somebody may be a businessman. Every work we must remember we are able to do the work because we are given the capability and the opportunity is given by God. Suppose one is a doctor, engineer, professor, whatever. God has given intelligence, God has given opportunity that you could study, and because of that, you got a good job, and you have intelligence, God has given you the intelligence. That is why you are able to shine in your job, in your profession. Similarly, He doesn't give that to many. He may give the intelligence, but the child will be born in a poor family, no opportunity to learn, so could not shine. So it is His design. This thought that I am not the doer, all that I am able to do, and that I have got so many things which God has given me, one should be very grateful every moment. My dear children, what happens is that instead of counting what God has given us, we keep on counting what He has not given us. Constantly we feel we did not get this, we did not get this. The situation was this, I could have been that, I could have become that. So, it should be a positive attitude. Think of what you have been given. Think of many others who have not been given. Think of the kripa that He has showered on you and be grateful. Feel blessed. Also feel blessed that at least God has given you this chance and opportunity to listen to these words of introspection, where we should think well and make our life light and beautiful, free. He says, so in this world created by God, you should work only for the sake of God. And when can you do everything for the sake of God? Only when you consider Him to be supreme. Mat paramaha. See, the first word was mat karmakrit. So, what does it mean? Swamiji has described. Work for the sake of God. Thinking that you are able to work, it is because He has created you and given you all the opportunities and facilities to work. Even think, work with hands, think with the mind, decide and do whatever with your buddhi, your intelligence. Wherever you are working, the opportunities and facilities, everything. Remember that, make it a habit. And giving these examples that whether you are a government officer, whether you are a servant, whether you are a minister, you cannot do what you want. You have to do for your boss. People who are, he has taken, Swamiji has also said minister. So he has to work for the people. The servant has to work for the master. The officer has to work for the company. The ministers have to work for the society. People, they have to do. Similarly, we have to work with this body which is created by God, living in this world which is created by God. We should understand that we must work for the sake of God. Well, how can we do that? Only when we think that He is supreme. A servant is working for the master because he thinks that he is superior to me. The officer works for the boss because he knows that boss is superior to me. Similarly, we must also work thinking that He is the supreme. And then comes the word mat paramaha. When you consider God to be supreme, then only this feeling of working for the sake of God will be you will remind it, automatically you will remember. Just like a mother has a child. A girl gets married. After some time, she has a child. Then her whole focus becomes the child. In her life, then the child becomes the supreme. Nobody has to tell her that you have to feed the child, you have to give bath to the child, you have to do this thing for the child, that thing for the child. Nobody has to tell her. Because the child has become supreme in her life. Similarly, we also start doing everything thinking it is for God's sake when we consider God to be supreme. Now, next comes how will you feel? What you should do? What should be your attitude to make God supreme? Because now for us, especially the worldly people, God is not supreme. What is supreme? Family is supreme, children are supreme, wealth is supreme, prosperity is supreme, name, fame, recognition, prestige, all these things are supreme. So, remaining in that, it's not being said that you don't do this. Remembering, having all these things, having the family, having wealth, having name, fame, recognition, everything, still how you can feel and know and become so in your mind, you can keep God as supreme, that we'll have to see. how God can become supreme in our life. It is from this knowledge alone that He has created us, and this body is created by Him. Nothing belongs to me, no control over everything. And we are in this world moving about because He wishes us to be doing that. So next day, we'll see what it means to become Mat Paramaha. Mat Paramaha. You know, I'm just reading them, and maybe I'm a little more explaining with some examples. But I feel so energized by this, so invigorated, and feel that it is so easy because I have tread this path. As many of you know, I stepped into spirituality at a young age, and now I'm quite old. And if I look back, I feel that I was always inspired, always had an aim. I also had household life, but I always felt that though in household, the aim should be to constantly remember and work, remembering that God is there. I did not know all this, Mat Karma Krit, or this shloka, nothing I knew at that time. But I used to feel that I should feel divine always, every moment, as I feel divine when I worship. When I do puja, when I go to temple, when I chant some shlokas, how I feel divine, I feel absolutely embraced by God. I should be feeling that when I'm doing my usual regular work. That was the aim. I think that aim everybody can have, should have. Okay. Sampurnam Jagadeva Nandanavanam Sarvepi Kalpadrumaha Gangam Vari Samasta Vari Nivaha Punya Samasta Kriyaha Vachah Prakrita Samskrita Shruti Shiro Varanasi Medini Sarvavasthitirasya Vastu Vishaya Drishti Parabrahmani Sarvavasthitirasya Vastu Vishaya Drishti Parabrahmani. Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai Guru.